It is shortening the time and also being more efficient in terms of cost, because if a financial institution, let's say they need to work with 10 fintechs, if it 10 integrations, that's very costly. If they only do one, which is with us, then you're reducing the cost by, right? So the more fintechs you work with, the more efficient it is. And also for the fintechs, instead of the fintechs having to connect with multiple banks, they just connect with us. And then we make that connection of the two. That makes it a lot more efficient in terms of cost, time, and also security, because you're not exposing services to multiple fintechs. You're exposing services only to one secure environment, which is us. And then we do the same on the other side.
Hello, Jorge. It's a pleasure having you in the show. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for inviting. Was really looking forward to have this conversation. We've been trying to do this for a while, and thank you so much for having me. Your podcasts are amazing. I saw many of the episodes, and the information that you're providing is fantastic. And I really feel honored to be part of that. So thank you, Monica, again, and happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's just get into it. So this podcast is all about how we can build more purpose-driven fintechs. So what is your take?
What is my take? Purpose is such a big word, right? Because purpose could mean different things, but at the end is how can you provide some help, if you will, for others to really being able to build and make this a better world, right? I'm always been interested in how can I add value to whatever I do. One of the things I did and throughout my career is always trying to find a place where I feel comfortable, a place where I like, a place where I enjoy what I'm doing. And at the same time, because of that, probably build teams, and those teams that will feel empowered to do things and hopefully try to support for a better world. In the case of FinConecta, which is the company that I'm with, that I founded a few years back, we are an infrastructure company because we provide the means for financial institutions to find the right fintechs, and for the fintechs to being able to work with financial institutions in a very efficient way. And I'm sure we're going to go in more details to that. But for us, it's also a way of how can we make the financial industry around the world more efficient, and so that more people can access financial products. The financial industry has been there for many years, right? It's one of the oldest industries, and it's not necessarily the more advanced because of the infrastructure that it requires, because of the buildings that they have today, and because of this human touch that needs to happen. Digital has been part of it as much as it should have. So I think the purpose for us as FinConecta is how can we make this financial industry more accessible for people to use it, and potentially with less cost, and with that drive financial inclusion for everyone. It's truly a broad concept of what purpose would be for us on FinConecta, but because we work behind the scenes, nobody knows our name and nobody knows we're present, but we are the pipes that allows financial institutions to work with fintechs and being able to provide new services for people that will feel empowered because they have now access to products that before were not able to do that.
Yes, and I like that you use the word empowered twice already. You said, I like empowering teams, and then you like empowering our customers. Seems like that's a very important word for you. Why is that?
When I think of empowering teams, people, companies, it's giving them the tools so that they can do something with it. To me, it's extremely important that people can build stuff and they come up with new ways that they can add value, whether that is to the product, to the community, to whatever they will be doing. Now in FinConecta, our hope is to provide all the necessary tools for financial institutions to be more digital, and for fintechs to be able to connect with financial institutions and provide them with services that financial institutions will use. So to us, for FinConecta, is empower everyone within our ecosystem that they can do more with more tools that they can have.
Definitely. And then I think it's also like we were mentioning offline that there's an element of responsibility right? And it's when it comes to empowering people.
Our conversation offline was very nice, especially in terms of how happy, how happy, how thankful you should be, because we were lucky of not having to do many things that people have to do in order to get to a point that we were lucky to get to. For example, I was never hungry in my life. I always had something to eat. I always had a place to live. I was able to study without having to work, which many people have to do. I was extremely lucky for all of that. And now I feel responsible to also support those that have not been as lucky, support them so that they can also grow, and then they will be able to support others as well. And all of, to me, it's good to do it, but also we're responsible for doing that, for bringing that to the world.
Exactly. And then can you then expand on what exactly does FinConecta do?
Of
Because you
course,
mentioned you're a bridge between like
yes.
banks and fintechs, but what do you guys do?
And let me step back for a second and tell you a little bit about my story, because it is linked to FinConecta. I
Mm.
used to work for different financial institutions, insurance companies, broker dealers, but the probably the most important work that I did was for Citi, where at the end of my career with Citi, I was the global head for FinTech and innovation through FinTech, and we'll do innovation programs around the world, countries like Kenya, Korea, Australia, Argentina, Colombia, everywhere around the world where FinTech was starting to come up. We're talking about 2010, 2011 that we're starting doing this. And we were able to talk with about 3,000 FinTechs around the world and see their technology, see what they can offer Citi. Citi operates in more than 100 countries. But the problem is that Citi has more than 100 core systems as well. So when we started working with them and we selected about 170 of them, and we said, okay, now we need to integrate you into Citi's core system, then the nightmare begins, right? Because then you have to have all kinds of teams being involved, and probably months, if not years, to be able to just to integrate one or two solutions. So that's when I said, hey, maybe we need a better way of doing this. And that's where I left Citi and created a company, FinConecta. And then what we do is basically we integrate with banks on one end to the core system. On the other end, we integrate with FinTechs and create a marketplace where financial institutions can come to us. They will go to the marketplace like an app store. They will select the solution that they see that they can add value to any of the services that they provide, test that into our own sandbox so that they don't have to create a separate instance within the platform to be able to test. We provide them with synthetic data so they don't need to expose anything. So there's compliance or regulation on how to go about testing. And we shorten the time from looking, selecting, testing, and integrating solutions from anywhere that a bank might take 6 to 9 months to it could be from finding and selecting and testing solutions a week, 2 weeks, and integrating, let's say, a month. So the innovation process for any financial institution that works with us, it really is shortening the time and also finding the right fintech for whatever they're looking for.
Definitely. And I can totally see how you add value to the ecosystem because exactly like integrating with one partner, it's not just like one technical integration. Like you say, it's like finding the partner, doing all the legal agreements with the partner. Just with that, it just takes time. And then basically what you're doing, it's like you're shortening time. And then the beautiful thing, it's like you're connecting both fintechs and banks. And that's basically the future. It's how can we collaborate and partner to build something better. So we're just shortening the time. And from both, I think, bank and fintech perspective, time to go to market is always key. We want to go like yesterday. If you
Yeah,
manage to shorten the time, then it's just beautiful.
for sure. It is shortening the time and also being more efficient in terms of cost, because if a financial institution, let's say they need to work with 10 fintechs, if they 10 integrations, that's very costly. If they only do one, which is with us, then you're reducing the cost by 10, right? So the more fintechs you work with, the more efficient it is. And also for the fintechs, instead of the fintechs having to connect with multiple banks, they just connect with us. And then we make that connection of the two. That makes it a lot more efficient in terms of cost, time, and also security, because you're not exposing services to multiple fintechs. You're exposing services only to one secure environment, which is us. And then we do the same on the other side.
Yes. And I think you just touched the right point that it's like customers, because you have two type of customers, banks and fintechs. And you briefly touched on this, but can you go deeper on what are the top problems that you solve for the banks? I want to
Of
dissect
course.
it, and then we'll go into the
Of course.
main problems of fintechs.
All right. And I would add to those two that you just mentioned, the end customer, right? Which is actually the one that will be using the solution that is created by integrating the fintech with the bank. That for us, that is where the true purpose really relies, because here the idea is, how can we get people to have access to financial services in a cheaper, better way, and also something that would allow people to be connected and to be part of this financial ecosystem. Because today, depending on where you sit in the world, 30%, 40%, 50% of the people don't have access to financial services. And that's something that we want to work with everyone within the ecosystem. And when I say ecosystem, it's banks around the world, it's financial institutions around the world, and fintechs around the world. We want to create this ecosystem that allows everyone to work with everyone without having to integrate twice. And that will reduce the cost, and potentially that will allow clients, the end client, to have more access, better access, cheaper access to financial services that at the end helps everyone. So that's like the big picture of why we're doing this and how you will see the different participants being part of it. Now, on the benefits for the financial institution, especially those that are, let's say, mid-size and probably smaller than that, they don't have large teams that are dedicated to find the right solution somewhere in the world, right? Because if you, let's say you are in Vietnam, you are in Colombia, you are wherever you might be working from, you don't necessarily know what's happening on the other side of the world or what's happening in the country just next to you. And then that's one of the key elements for us. We provide this marketplace so that financial institutions can go and find what they need. And they can just type what they want, and then the system will tell them, okay, here's the solution for you. So that's the first thing that for financial institutions, that is a plus. The second thing is that once they see and they find, okay, here's a chatbot that I would like to use, they need to test that, because PowerPoint is nice, a video is nice, but then you need to test the solution. And that's where they use our sandbox. They can go test the solution, because solutions within our marketplace are already integrated with our core system. We have a core system that simulates a core system of a bank, and we provide with synthetic data. So financial institutions can go and see how that solution will work if they would be integrated into the core system. So that's the step number two. That's a benefit for them. And the last one that I think it's critical is that allows them to really integrate a solution in a very secure way and an efficient way, because they don't need to integrate multiple times. So that's on the financial institutions. For the fintechs, we allow them to have exposure, because they are exposed to all the banks that have access to our platform. We have about 1,000 financial institutions that have access to the marketplace that they can go and select and see what's in that difficult for a fintech to do, right? And fintechs have to go knock on doors and say, hey, financial institution, here I am. In this case, they are part of a marketplace. So they have that exposure. Second, we are offering them different tools. I don't know if we're going to talk a little bit about AI, but we are building different tools with AI. So the fintechs, they don't have to rebuild those tools, and we get those for free. And you want to do QA, quality assurance, in an automatic way. You don't need to build your own tools. We'll give you the tools. So we give them tools so they can build new solutions within the sandbox, and that they can use that sandbox to test. So if you're a fintech and you're building something and you want to test, rather than you put in some hard-coded testing elements, you have a core banking to work with, which would be exactly the same core banking that you will be integrating to, or just by integrating with us, we will integrate to the core banks. Our idea with the fintechs is to help them build whatever they need to build and give them the market to go on there. But that's the value prop for the fintech.
I love that. So I have two follow-up questions. We have A, B, and B, right? Because it's two players. So on the bank side, let's say if I work, let's use the example. I work in CT, for example, and then you talk about the marketplace, and basically I just type, if it was a menu, I type the type of solution that I want. How would you classify those solutions? What type of products am I looking for?
Anything that you need. It could be engagement with clients. You want to go crypto. You want to do compliance. You want to do lending. Anything that you want to digitize as a financial institution, you will find it within our marketplace. Today, the world of fintech has grown so much that covers every need that a client might have, the end client, and also the financial institution, like the compliance piece that I just mentioned, right? And we have fintechs from all different parts of the world that they work with, either a region, globally, a country. So if you sit in Mexico and you need something to, you want to offer cryptocurrencies to your clients, you just go and type, this is what I want to do. And then the system will tell you, okay, these are the companies that can do that for you. And you can test them here in March.
Okay, I want to go deeper because so that I understand like properly. Because for example, as a fintech, as a B2C fintech, usually you are like, oh, I want to build, I don't know, now I want to sell insurance, right? That's what comes to my mind. Like, I want to sell insurance, therefore I go into the market and I engage with different platforms, and then we decide who, and you integrate this, the other. But if I am, and part of doing this is because we don't have a banking license as such, right? So we are limited on the products that we can offer, and B, basically we leverage all the knowledge from the partner. But then if I'm a bank, if I'm a large financial institution, I already offer all the financial services. What? Yeah.
If you're a financial institution, there's two things that might happen. One is that you have a product that you already offer, let's say loans, right? But you want to digitize the loan and you want to be able to get to more people, be able to analyze clients in a much better way, to be able to pull your base through digital channels. That's where we come in, and we can provide you with solutions for that. Then you have other financial institutions that might not have a product, and they want to launch that product. And instead of them building the product, they come to the marketplace and they say, hey, I want to have a wallet that will allow my clients to hold cryptocurrencies. Then we will provide you with that wallet. So it really depends where the financial institution is in their digitization journey, if you will. If they want to digitize something that they currently have, we can help them with that. They want to build something new, we can help them with that. And for fintechs, because as you very well said, there's two types of fintechs: B2C, so that they go and sell directly to clients. And then you have the B2Bs. On the B2C, sometimes they need a license, because let's say that they cannot offer accounts. And then here comes open banking, and you have a very good episode on open banking. I really like that, the interview that you did. And that explains very well what open banking is. And then through open banking and banking as a service, banks can provide the services to fintechs that they might need in order to go to market. We also provide that ability, because since we are integrated with the bank, we can expose APIs on behalf of the bank through a developer portal branded for the financial institution so that fintechs can come and also work with the bank. So what we provide is an infrastructure. So if the bank wants to digitize, if the bank wants to go more digital, they can just talk to us and we will build whatever they need in terms of infrastructure and we'll bring the solutions there. For fintechs that they want to work with banks, we will provide them with tools, we will provide them with connections, and we will provide them with exposure that will allow them to sell.
Okay, I got it. So you covered the whole ecosystem. It's quite complex, basically. How do you stay innovative? What are the type of products that you can share with us that you're like, oh, this is amazing?
We work with fintech associations. We work with VCs. So we talk to fintechs every day. We have a team dedicated to fintechs and services, and talk to them. And in whatever we find that is interesting, we just upload it to the marketplace and we let the clients go and see if that's something that they would like to do.
Okay. So building on that, then it's not only you connect banks and fintechs, but it's like you've mentioned Vietnam and Mexico, like basically you're a global company. Like which regions do you cover and how do they differ?
Yeah, we cover most of the regions. We are still yet to grow in Asia. That's going to start the next quarter, 2025 first quarter. And we have signed a contract with a large partner. We cannot really say who they are, but they are one of the most important, or one of the two card issuers in the world. And through them, we are able to be in more than 100 countries today and in about 1,000 financial institutions that they have access to our platform and our marketplace. So we're basically operating in all the regions. Asia is the one that we are not yet there in terms of and at the scale, but that's coming very soon. But other than that, we work in every region. We are also supporting large financial institutions with not just the sandbox, but also developer zones. We call it developer zone, which is a platform that allows financial institutions to develop their own solutions in a separate instance to what they have on their own institution. So they don't have to comply with everything that they have to comply within their own stack because they are in a separate and secure environment where they can test and break things. So we're also providing ways for large financial institutions to build things in a secure environment that doesn't touch anything that they have within their own technology stack. And that's our sandbox lab proposition, where financial institutions can actually build on our own infrastructure and test in our own infrastructure with their own core system and synthetic data. So we work on about 100 countries around the world, and we provide services from development to testing to integrating.
Awesome. So I want to continue then I want to go back to that point that you mentioned about regulation. Because whether you are like a big bank or a fintech, but especially the fintechs, like on your client side, on that part, if I don't have that license, how can I work with you? Let's say if I want to offer, I don't know, for example, insurance.
I think being part of the ecosystem allows you to leverage whoever has the license. So let's say that you want to sell insurance and you don't have a license, but through the platform, you can partner with someone that does have the license and they will provide all the legal requirements, if you will, and you can provide the product. We're not a regulated entity. We are just the rails. We are the infrastructure, but through us, anyone that needs a license can find someone that has the license and being able to build a product that can be sold to the market. So it's not just about technology, it's also the types of partnerships that you can do through the platform.
As you're talking, I'm like, oh my God, you're making this so much easier. Because when I built our current FinTech, like we built almost everything from scratch. And we have like licenses and takes a ton. But right now, if you're like, oh, I want to start something or expand my reach product lines, For customers, if I want to reach the big banks, it seems like today compared to 5, 7, 10 years ago, it's way much easier.
It's much easier. And honestly, you shouldn't build anything that is already out there because it's time to market is the most important thing today. Not even technology. It's how fast can you get your product in front of your client and provide the service that you want to provide. And you can do that just by partnering with others that already have the capability to do it. And that's what we want to be the enablers of, right? To put A plus B so that something can be built much faster, easier, more efficient.
Definitely. And talking about time to market and efficiency, you mentioned AI. And of course, we cannot
Yeah.
have this episode without talking about it.
We're investing heavily on AI and on multiple fronts. One is internal. How can we get our processes, our work better and more efficient through AI? The other one is how can we provide services to our clients? And then the third one is how can we monetize all of that, right? It's still early days for many things. And first we're testing, then we're providing the service to our clients. And then if it makes sense, we can monetize. So what we have done is basically see how AI can help all units within FinConecta, whether that is on the doing research with the fintechs or quality assurance, where you have, we currently have our own agent that does quality assurance on 80% of the work that you need to be done in quality assurance today for us is done by an AI. Now that tool that we build, now we're making it available for fintechs and financial institutions to use it so that they don't have to rebuild that type of agent and have the ability to test within our platform using our own AI. So for us, it's a journey of understanding what it can be done, use it that internally, provide that service to our clients, and ideally at some point monetize that. So that's the journey. Now we're doing that with multiple things. We're doing that with research, we're doing that with sales, we're doing it with quality assurance. So we have a set of, we call them agents, that they're doing different things. We even named them. Some of them have names like Sam is customer service. Pedro is our quality assurance. So we have different agents that are doing things for us.
I love it because you're becoming, I want to say, like a centralized AI builder across all the touch points of financial services. Like you could.
Yeah.
I
And also
super
we're
cool.
working with our partners, right? Yeah. We're
Yeah.
working with different fintechs that they provide their own services. There's a company here in Miami, the product's called Lola. And Lola is sort of like a chatbot, but that's financial support for financial institutions. It's really cool. You just talk to Lola and Lola will give you all the information you need from your account. You can transfer money just by talking to Lola. So we are working with partners like Lead Financial, which is the company that has built Lola. And we really want to push AI because we believe that's going to accelerate inclusive finance. It will allow us to a better relationship with finance because sometimes it's difficult. You go to your banking services and it's not necessarily easy. So if you can do this with a natural language interface, it will help us all.
Yes. Yeah. Totally on board with that. When you said talk with Lola, do you mean chat with her or speak with her?
Both.
So user.
We
Both.
can do both.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And that's a service that one of our partners provides, but also that's also the essence of what we want to build in our own agents that they can provide services to our clients.
So I'm assuming like you could do that across, let's say, one example with customer service, right? That's the obvious one. But one
Yeah.
good example that comes to mind is, I don't know, lending collections. That's very human. I would say the opposite. It's very aggressive if you end up as a consumer, if you end up on the collection side, it's very
Yeah.
aggressive. But then we can humanize it a little bit more if we do it with an AI agent.
Yeah. And I think also the basic services, like for example, you want to send money to your brother instead of going to your banking app and click. You just go to the AI service and say, send $30 to Ramiro, right? And then it will just do it. Recognizing your voice is validating who you are, is going to your account, is sending the money to your brother, already know your brother's account number and all that information, and all that can be done automatically, right? That's one of the services, one of the fintechs that we provide.
I think our listeners want to hear another more use case. So we have the customer service, collections, sending money. How about money management?
Yeah, for sure. You can, I have not seen that one, but I think it's easy to build, which is, hey, build me, based on how I've been managing my money, build me a budget for the next 4 years. And then boom, a budget being built by an AI, which could be a service provided by a financial institution.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, anything that we think about will be like, hey, there's an agent that can do this.
100%. That's what I think so too.
So what are then as all of us, because this is all the industries, but like specifically all of us as fintechs and banks, as we start building, we may partner with people like you, or we may go and say, no, I want to go and build my own AI. What are the key lessons that you've learned in these few months when it comes to building AI that you're like, hey, if you're going to go on this journey, you must ensure that you think of ABC?
I think the managing of the data is critical. How you manage the data, where you host it, who has access to that. I think that is key. Select the right LLM. I think it's also very important. Then how can you build something that is more humanized? It can really have an interaction with whoever you're talking to. That's also important. And it's not one solution that will do all, right? You need to integrate different pieces, and that integration is critical so that it can run smoothly and it works very nice. Something that we did for a conference, because we had a booth and we needed to present something, our team decided to build this joke teller and integrated multiple AI solutions. So what it does, it's called Kevin, another name. So Kevin is our joke teller. And what it does is you take a selfie and you tell Kevin what kind of jokes you want, and Kevin will tell the jokes for you, and you can send that to your friends. And that was a very interesting way of, hey, this is how AI can be used. This is what AI can do for you. And it was built in about a week. So, and the reason we did it is because we think it's finance, we should be talking also about something a little bit more attractive and fun. And that's why we did it. But it was also a way of testing, how do we need to integrate the different components to be able to provide a good solution for someone that wants to use it.
Definitely. I'm loving this conversation. I think we could go going and keep going and going. But as we approach towards the end of the episode, I want to change gears and ask more about you as a leader as such.
Okay.
Right. I have this hypothesis that, yeah, we're doing all the tech that we're doing and having all the impact that we have, but the most important ingredient is people, right? Like the people who work in the industry as such. So how have you managed to build high performance teams while keeping everyone happy as well? Well, not everyone happy, but having happy and high performance teams.
Many things, and obviously there are things that you try and don't work and things that they truly work. One of the important elements, at least for us in FinConecta, is that we want most of the people that work at FinConecta to also be shareholders of the company. So, from the beginning, people that we believe true to the company, we will offer them shares, and they will get a bonus on shares every year, depending on the performance, of course. But having them being part of the company, to me, it's extremely important, because then this is not just the company for whoever has invested in the company, but also for those that are working in the company and making this a reality. So that's probably number one. Number two is try to listen. The more you listen, the better it is because you can learn from others on what they think that it works and not work. And so that's a very important element to it. The other one is try to have certain processes so that we all know where we're heading and what we need to do, have the same visions, have the same goals. My business partner has implemented OKRs in the company. At first, it was a bit painful because you don't really know what you're doing. But then as you go quarter by quarter, you start learning more and more. And today, everything we do in the company is based on OKRs, thanks to this implementation. That was something that I never thought I was going to do, but she thought about it, she implemented, and I think we're a better company today because of that. And I think just have the team working as a team is totally important, not to have different levels of the typical structure of the company, but probably try to have it more flat so that everyone can work with everyone and not necessarily based on units, but based on products and projects. I think that's another way to go about it.
Interesting. I've heard multiple people say that it's forget about hierarchy. That doesn't exist in this company. It's just get people to work with people.
I think that's the best thing that you can.
Yeah, definitely. Because then you bridge that gap of the authority level versus we're just like two people working on this project.
Precisely.
Amazing. Okay. So one of my favorite questions and the last question is, if you were to change one thing in the industry that can have the most impact to customers, staff, and shareholders, what could that be?
Interoperability. If we can truly be totally integrated, then that will change many things. It will make it more efficient because you wouldn't be repeating the same thing, building the same thing over and over again. It will be less expensive because you don't have to pay for infrastructure that it is useless to use the same infrastructure for multiple institutions, and have the ability to connect with others that are doing something else in some other part of the world without having to go one by one. I think that is critical. And that's why for us, building this interconnected ecosystem has been our mission from day one. And I think as we move all the technology that is out there today, AI or anything that might come next, I think the more interoperability that you can have, the better, because that really provides more efficient for all the participants.
Definitely.
And for the end customer as well, which hopefully that's the one that will receive all the benefits.
Exactly, because it's not just about creating infrastructure products for the sake of it. It's to have impact in customers' lives as such. I think that's a beautiful way to close the episode. I think you have an amazing company as such. Thank you so much for joining us in the show.
No, thank you for inviting. It's a pleasure. It's been a very nice conversation. Hope we'll do it again.
Yes. Thank you, Jorge. Everyone, see you next week. Ciao, ciao.